And how can we affect various parts of our lives and the lives of people on the planet by shifting beliefs? We've got an election coming up in this country. Your thoughts are votes every time you have one for how you want the world to be. When you're thinking about stuff, know that every thought is injected into the thought field. It's called the collective unconscious. It is a palpable, existing field of consciousness that outpictures the reality that we are creating. So remember, you vote with your thoughts. The good news about that, if your thoughts are coming from your subconscious and they aren't the ones you want because they're creating something you don't want, guess what you've got? That's right. You got a way to shift those beliefs. And therefore you shift your votes. And you want to shift them at the subconscious level. Why? Because we know more about the subconscious now than we've ever known in the history of consciousness. And we know the part it's playing. And each piece of research that comes out says it's more profound than you imagine. And I just read an article, it's an article, research done in Germany, in Berlin. And they were talking about how long it takes for an idea that manifests and clicks at the subconscious level to show up in the conscious level. And it's amazing. I mean, they're showing that 10 seconds prior to you making a decision consciously, your subconscious has already made the decision. You're essentially jumping on the bandwagon thinking that you just exercised your free will. Ain't so free by then. We're going through some interesting times. And while all that stuff outside of us looks kind of like, wow, what's going to happen next? It's much less important about what happens out here than what happens in here. If we can get this straight, we can change what's out there. And people sometimes think in this world, and I can certainly understand it, is that, gee, I'm just one person, how am I going to affect all the stuff that's going on? All these things I'm hearing about from all over the world, and how can I make a difference? You make a difference because you're the epicenter of change. Each one of you. Don't ever forget that. You are the epicenter for change. Every belief you have votes into the cosmic grouping of belief systems. That vote is just as powerful, just as important, just as meaningful as anybody else's vote, regardless of their station in life, their bank account, their fame, or whatever. Your vote matters equally. So vote with your consciousness. Yeah, go to the polls and vote tomorrow by shifting your consciousness. And when you find yourself feeling disconnected from other people, or judging other people, or getting into that space of I'm not you, and therefore I'm going to take advantage of this other person somehow, well, I can just do this, it won't be so bad, actually, it's a little unethical, but no big deal. No, that's not okay. And I can tell you that PSYCH-K, the thought form itself, has been moving me to a different perspective. In the very beginning, 20 years ago, I couldn't speak of the spiritual component of PSYCH-K. If I did, then we got into an argument about religion in classes, and we never got anything done. And people couldn't learn the process of changing their beliefs because they wanted to discuss beliefs in the context of religion. This has nothing to do with religion. You can come to PSYCH-K with any religion you want. And if you want to strengthen the beliefs that you found inspiring in that religion, you can use PSYCH-K to do that. If you want to change the beliefs, you can use PSYCH-K to do that. So the point really is, the spiritual component was, what I could do is mention it in passing, kind of. And then say, look, it's a psychological process that can be used and has some spiritual benefits to it. When it comes right down to what are the basic problems, what we've been trained to do is look at the symptom. It could be a physiological symptom, a disease, or a behavioral symptom, or whatever the heck it is. It's still a symptom. We try to treat the symptom. That's what allopathic medicine does. Except it does it with drugs, for the most part. If you think a little more carefully about why we're here and who we are and what we are, you wouldn't be so quick to eradicate a symptom. I learned quite a while ago that symptoms are more often spiritual messages that we have actually created in order to get our attention so we can learn a very important lesson about why we're here and who we are. And the first thing we want to do is make that messenger go away. We kill the messenger before we get the message. Let me tell you a story. So one day, close to where I was living, I was stopped at an intersection. And to my right, out of my peripheral vision, I see a group of people moving into the crosswalk coming across the street. A couple kids in wheelchairs, a couple of Down syndrome kids pushing them, and one teacher. Special ed class in high school, right? I'm noticing this one kid in particular, probably 14, 15 years old. He's in the wheelchair, and he's spastic. So his body is, flailing like this. He's strapped into the chair, otherwise he would fall out. And I thought, God, thank you that that's not me. What a horrible life this kid must have. He's 14, 15 years old. He's strapped in this chair. Life's never going to get better. That's it. He's trapped. And I swear to you, when this kid got in front of my car and all this was happening, his head went just like that. And he stared straight into my eyes. He was no longer moving. He said in my head, not out loud, "Don't feel sorry for me. I chose this body as my last time here." Because I realized the being inside that body had chosen that vehicle to exit. He was practicing the disconnect from physical reality because he wasn't going to be in physical reality next go-around. I never saw clients the same way. I never saw human beings the same way. I never saw anybody as broken from that day forward. Never. I saw the divinity in them. I honored that divinity. And when I went to the office to do private sessions, that's the only part of an individual I could see. I don't care what their story was. And they were very attached to their stories. Let me tell you why my life is so crappy. I was abused as a child, and then this happened, and this terrible thing happened, and it's all this victim chatter, all this mantras of limitation going on and on and on. And I was very polite. I listened to everybody. And the only part that I'd respond to is the part that didn't believe any of that. There's a part in each of us that is divine, that isn't broken in any way, shape, or form. We are not, I repeat, victims of original sin. We are beings of original perfection. The sin is we were told otherwise. Understand? And if you look for and see only the perfection, if you look for and see only the divinity in another human being, I don't care if you can barely see it. You really have to dig in there. This little tiny light around all of that distortion of who they are. Talk only to that, and that will grow. Tithe only to the light, tithe only to their divinity, and that will grow. So therapy became for me simply recognizing the divine in myself and in others. And when I did that, they started to change before we even got into balancing. And then the balancing processes, I realized, were sacred rituals of recognition for your divinity. And these days, in a very powerful and very compelling way, PSYCH-K has been moving towards a more, broader, deeper expression of who we are as divine beings having a human experience, not the other way around. When you recognize that first and foremost, and that these are expressions, these are vehicles. My partner Bruce Lipton, friend and colleague, talks about that. We are not the vehicle. We are in the field. We are the divinity that's immortal, playing through these particular vehicles. It's a pretty liberating thought, actually. So the trick is, be the very best version of you, because it's all divine playing through you. So what's the best possible version of you playing in that divinity, that field of the gods? Who are you in that expression? Well, I would submit to you, you can't have any of the symptoms that people try to get rid of. Because divinity doesn't have the symptoms. Symptoms are distortions of your perception of yourself, of your divine nature. So what's been going on with PSYCH-K recently, there will be a retreat-style event, a gathering, and there will be in fairly small groups of people, not big ones, that the working title of it will simply be Divine Integration Retreat. And it will be only for people that have taken the basic and the advanced course. Reason is, not teaching any techniques, not teaching any new balances, teaching how to use them in a very different way. Because the whole issue is to move into what keeps you from believing that you are God incarnate. What keeps you from believing that? So as soon as it's available, that will be something that we can offer in really beautiful sacred places in the world. Because they need to be done. It needs to be done in nature. No offense, but it's a great surroundings, great for meeting place and all that. But the vibration has to be way more natural than the asphalt jungle. Okay?